Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. May I just remind you what a joy it is to be with you, and to always remind you that the most important consciousness you have is the consciousness within you, at the very center of your being. May it be directed for you today and every day. Just a couple of comments before we begin today. First of all, you would have received an email on Friday morning concerning our children's and family book list. It's a very important email to download, to read thoroughly, and especially to pass on to family members. This is a very important service we have for Now Creations. I encourage you to take the time, look over the email, and see how it might fit in to your life. Also, I want to invite all of you this evening to our New Earth with Eckhart Tolle from 6 to 7:30. And due to a microphone problem, we will not conclude with Namaste, but we'll conclude simply with our meditation this morning. Let's begin. My dear friends, today is an important teaching. As each one of us continues to develop spiritually, it's also important for us to realize that our spiritual progress is an aspect of the progress of humanity. Our spiritual progress is one aspect of the progress of humanity. More importantly, I think it is important for us to understand the role of spirituality in this larger progression of humanity. And that's what I want to focus on today. Thus, what I'd like to present in today's teaching is precisely this, to clearly show the importance of spirituality in the unfolding of the progress of humanity. I will begin, first of all, by examining much of the progress of humanity, especially worldwide factors, and then I'll present a scientific basis for spirituality, and then finally conclude with three very practical ways of showing the importance of spirituality in the flow of the progress of humanity. The title of today's teaching has to do with a lot of I's. It is entitled IQs, AIs, and SIs. Let's begin. As humanity progresses, we can readily recognize several well-defined areas of the evolution of humanity. May I take a moment to mention several trends that are firmly entrenched in our contemporary view of the progress of humanity. The first one is the trend to urbanization. It is projected in the next 25 years that 90% of the human population will be living in cities, thus relying on the infrastructure of the city to provide water, food, housing, education, and healthcare. The second aspect is one that is very familiar to us, namely universal communication. What might have taken months to communicate in the past is now done pretty well instantaneously with the ubiquitous iPhones and communication satellites. The evening news can take you to an up-to-the-date minute occurrences in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, to the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, as well as to the environmental disaster in our nearby East Palestine, Ohio. The third aspect of the progress of humanity is the search for sustainable energy, an obvious moving away from fossil fuels to more renewable sources, such as nuclear, wind, and solar energies. This quest for renewable energy has highlighted a fourth aspect of the notion of global economic dependency. While countries want to be economically independent, as presented in the slogan, Made in America, the fact of the matter is that we are probably becoming more economically interdependent when we consider the following: the accelerated innovation skills that arise from a world community rather than just from one nation. May I just say this again? The accelerated innovation skills that rise from a world community rather than from simply one nation, such as the Dutch ocean cleanup that is taking waste out of the Pacific Ocean, as well as to the American involvement with Ebola recently in Africa. The clear movement is towards globalization beyond nationalism, not without its problems, but a clear trend. A fifth aspect in the progress of humanity is what we sometimes call the generational handoff. The generational handoff. We especially see this in American politics, both parties clamoring for a generational handoff, new blood with younger, more advanced ideas. This movement is worldwide, especially with the clarity that the next generation will be much more universal in language, much more open to innovation, and especially much more attuned and accepting of racial, economic, and gender equality. I hope that I have laid for you at least some of the forward movements of humanity, except for one factor that is very important. But before I examine it, I want again to return to our title, IQ, AI, and SI. First, a brief comment on IQ. As most of you know, IQ means intelligence quotient. And of course, many people like to say that they have a very high intelligence quotient. I have a very high IQ. And that their children and grandchildren are quite gifted with very high IQs. Here's the point. While an IQ is determined by tests that are based on reading comprehension and problem solving, it is quite clear that while humanity is making scientific progress, we also see that humanity is having a hard time getting along with itself. This not getting along is not only among nations and not only in politics, but it's also in our local school boards and local politics. And of course, sometimes in our own families. Tests on IQ do not deliver on the importance of how we get along with others. As Eckhart Tolle stated very beautifully several years ago, very intelligent scientific people also have the means to blow humanity up, thus ending the human experiment. Something more than IQ is necessary. So let's now return to a very dynamic area of scientific progress that is kind of like at the apex of the progress of humanity. That area is artificial intelligence. This area in the realm of AI, artificial intelligence, whether one recalls the IBM's creation of Watson, or simply views the robotics in manufacturing, from assembly lines in car factories to floor cleaners, one cannot help but be impressed at how AI artificial intelligence has influenced the workplace, and especially where AI is used to identify logarithms of human behavior, as many of you on the social media have found out. Both positive and negative aspects of AI are quite apparent. AI is especially important also because the largest technology companies of the world, are very much invested in AI, including Apple and Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Tesla, and Salesforce, to name a few. Is AI the wave of the future progress of humanity? While AI will be incredibly useful in humanity's future, we must not forget that it is humanity's future, not AI's future. It's humanity's future, not AI's future. While AI is amazing and sometimes scary in what it can do, it is man programming AI that is the key to humanity's future. What will man program AI to do? Like all other inventions of humanity, AI does not have the two things that are unique to a human being. It is not conscious, nor is it free. AI does not have conscious choice. AI is not self-aware. I think that you're beginning to get the picture. AI will do whatever humans program it to do. AI will do whatever humans program it to do. It will simply mimic human patterns, not necessarily predict conscious freedom. So the real progress of humanity, it needs something beyond IQs and AIs. Our real progress needs something more than just the IQ and AI bits. I suggest that the direction of humanity's future needs a better intelligence. Let's call it SI, spiritual intelligence. But before we see how spiritual intelligence can guide humanity's future, let me now focus on a scientific fact of what the quantum physicists call entanglement. Entanglement. Listen closely. First presented by Albert Einstein in 1935, but getting a lot more attention nowadays, especially in the area of quantum physics, is this notion of entanglement, which states that no quantum particle exists independently of the state of other particles, even particles that are separated by a large distance. In a nutshell, the teaching of entanglement is that all particles at the quantum level are interconnected. All particles exist in a coherent unity. I believe that this notion of entanglement is a good introduction to SI, spiritual intelligence. What I will now suggest to you that I consider to be the real future of humanity's progress will be to be able to address to you three particular aspects of SI that really hold the key for the evolution of our species. 3 aspects of SI. First, I suggest that just as all of the particles of matter are connected on the quantum level, all human beings are also interconnected. This interconnection has both obvious and not so obvious connections. Let's take a look. The obvious connections are the ubiquitous presence, again, of cell phones and satellites, even in the poorest of countries, allowing instantaneous communication, as well as economic interdependence of nations. The world seems to function best when there are not only international markets, but also when we're willing to share international intelligence. We are better together. The word that we use to describe this obvious interconnection is globalism. Globalism beyond an outdated nationalism. We simply need to proceed as a united humanity. That's the obvious external observation. The not so obvious basis of our interconnection, is at the center of spiritual intelligence. That basis at the center of spiritual intelligence is that all of creation, and specifically all of us here on the planet, all of humanity, proceeds from one source. There is one source, one loving, unified energy. Our term for this coming forth is the word oneness. Coming from one source, we are all interrelated with humanity and with all of nature. We say these words so often in phrases such as, we are all created equal in the eyes of God, that we have yet to realize these words for all of humanity. This is where our spirituality really now becomes into play. This is where our spiritual intelligence, our SI, has such a significant role of leadership to play for the progress of humanity. Each of us is a conscious spiritual being, and I feel that each of us on this call right now is absolutely committed to the truth of oneness. We realize, not only conceptually, that we work better together, but we are also living this better way together. We are ushering in the kingdom of God right here, right now. Are we not? Are we not providing the spiritual glue for a united humanity, at least in our groupings? Not just reducing and breaking down the disproportionality of money, food, housing, and education, but also extending a loving invitation of oneness. We extend a loving invitation of oneness to those whose hearts are still in the energy of outdated self-centeredness. We continue to extend the invitation of oneness to those who don't quite presently realize yet that we are better together. The second aspect of SI for a united humanity. The second aspect of SI for a united humanity goes a little deeper than simply we all come from a loving source. The second aspect, not so obvious until it is that each of us, as God's human children, each of us has the same loving energy of the Creator itself at the very center of our beings. Each one of us has the same loving energy of the Creator at the center of our beings. With this same spiritual center, we come to realize that not only is everyone equal in the sight of God, but everyone is equal in each other's sights. We are becoming equal in the sight of each other. We are structured in the same way. Each one of us has the same primal energy at the very center of our beings. And that when each one of us returns to our center, we realize that we are that same loving SI spiritual energy. That fear of each other and that fear of one nation against another nation is basically fruitless, and it's unnecessary because there is a oneness at the very core of our beings, as the notion of entanglement states so well. We're entangled with each other. It is this oneness of knowing our common spiritual center that is the major contribution that spirituality offers to the planet. It is this oneness at our spiritual center that is the most important contribution that spiritual intelligence gives to our planet. We are entangled with each other. And you and I are the vanguard of understanding this oneness and inviting others to learn it as well. It is this oneness, clearly understood at our center, that is the basis of what Eckhart Tolle called that new species that is arising on the planet. That new species being you and me, acknowledging the dignity and the respect due everyone, because we have a common spiritual center. All of us are not only from God, but we are of God. And eventually, not only respecting all others, but also coming to love all others. This is where we're heading. It is this internal feeling of love, of looking lovingly upon all others, that all human beings will come to know. And we are happily leading the way. We know this, and we are living this way accordingly. Do you not clearly see that the absolute most important contribution that spirituality offers to the best possible future of humanity is that we love each other? Not just in theory, but in fact, because love literally is at the center of our DNA. Because our DNA is the DNA of God. We know this. We just have to allow it to come forward. Let's bring it forward. Let's usher in the kingdom. One last point. Fun and enjoyable. As we continue to grow spiritually, I believe that much of what we will accomplish spiritually will exceed scientific progress. Yes, I said that much of what we will accomplish spiritually will exceed simply space-time science. I believe that what lies on the not too distant horizon of our spirituality are advanced spiritual practices. Not just a reduction of fear and anxiety, that'll be old stuff, but rather the accelerated spiritual practices of longevity, clairvoyance, telepathy, bilocation, teleportation, in forms of multi-dimensional travel. I believe that these spiritual advancements will eventually become the norm for all of us. We are on the move in SI. In conclusion, science indeed has played and will continue to play a very important role in the advancement of humanity. But just as you know the importance of spirituality for you, you also know how spirituality will assist others to see things differently and to bring a greater happiness into life as we acknowledge the oneness with each other and move more comfortably with oneness among nations, so that everyone will eventually be on this path we're laying out for them. Never doubt the importance of what you are able to model and exemplify. Hold fast to the truth. It'll not just set you free, that it'll set all humanity free. IQ is very important. AI, very important. Each has their place. And may I suggest that that place is in service to SI. IQ, AI, in service to SI. This is the future of humanity. This is what we are bringing forth. And yes, of course, we're going to be spiritually intelligent together. Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Just settle yourself. And as you do so, just encourage you now to focus on your breathing. Just breathing in and breathing out, and allowing the breath within you to settle you. Give it your attention. Give it your attention. Please begin. And would you just say to yourself, well, here I am. Here I am. This is me. This is my soul self. This is me, my soul self. This is my conscious, free intelligence. I'll just say it again. This is my conscious, free intelligence. I can not only make up my mind, but I can also change my mind. And I can change my mind again and again and again and again. Yes, of course, it's nice to have an IQ that is lofty. It's nice to be intelligent, to discern what's going on in the world. When it is matched with a sense of loving oneness, you are at the apex of creation. This is what we have learned. Every one of us is pretty smart. But beyond the fact that we're smart, is that we are kind and loving. Our intelligence is in the service of love. Just said again, our intelligence is in the service of love. Did you not just get a fresh burst of energy? Not when I said it's nice to be intelligent, but when I said intelligence in the service of love. Wasn't it that love within you that just burst forth? Honestly, isn't that what happened? Yes, intelligence, very helpful, but love. This is the movement of the Holy Spirit within you. AI is really interesting. My goodness, it can drive cars, even trucks. Lots of things cooking in AI. And yet, you wonder why it's called artificial intelligence, not loving intelligence. It's artificial. It's surfacing. And while it can mimic human behavior and even forecast certain human logarithms of behavior, it is still artificial. It's kind of an artificial sweetener. It can sweeten life. That is not necessarily the real thing. It too is best when, like IQ, AI is in the service of the loving presence. Or it can assist the human condition when lovingly expressed. Terrific. And then there's SI. SI. We can call it the wave of the future, but I'd rather say it's the wave of the present. It's the state of the present. SI. Spiritual intelligence. I mean, do you realize how important you are? How important you are. Being able to bring this loving energy consciously to bear right here on the planet, firmly implanting this loving energy right here, right now, ushering in the kingdom of God right here, right now. We are the new species that is rising here on the planet. Would you accept that about yourself? You are here in the conscious expression of the God Spirit. Now, if that doesn't bring a smile to your face, I don't know what would. That's what we're doing here. Conscious, happy expressions of the God Spirit. Ushering in the kingdom. And not only ushering in the kingdom, but consciously expanding, consciously moving into higher spiritual conscious practices that bring a sense of longevity to the human condition. Be here as long as you want. Or clairvoyance, telepathy, bilocation, teleportation, multi-dimensional travel. SI. And as we conclude our meditation, would you just feel that loving energy at the very center of your beings? Just feel yourself filled with the love of God. It is our DNA. Would you say it again to yourself? The love of God is my DNA. I bet you're going to have an incredible day today. And let me now invite you to gently breathe your eyes open. How could you not be joyful? I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. And we are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us, and only good can come from us. Namaste, dear ones. Namaste.